As activity gets underway there, we go to the Supreme Court. And Shannon Bream, Jonathan Turley, Kerry Kupek, Urban, and Andy McCarthy are all standing by. Shannon, you're there at the court. This is the last case that the court is going to hear this year, and arguably, I think there's no question, the most consequential.
What's up with fake news?
Absolutely consequential to all of these federal actions now pending against the former president. And there's been some criticism of the Supreme Court that they didn't handle this quickly enough. But actually, we all know in covering the court, this is actually rocket speed for them to actually get a petition, take it up, have briefing and arguments, and add something to the calendar this quickly. Normally, their most substantive cases we do think will come in late June, early July. But because of what's at stake in this case, we do think it could come sooner than that, Dana.
Okay, thank you, Shannon. Jillian?
Jonathan, Trump obviously wanted to be here today at the Supreme Court. He's not. He's at New York Supreme Court facing criminal charges in his trial there. Do you think his presence here today would have made an impact, any kind of difference on the judge's mindset coming into these oral arguments?
I don't think it would change the judge's mindset. In some ways, having him in New York is the best argument he can put in front of the justices, because Alvin Bragg is making the case for him. I mean, as the court considers the implications of not extending immunity to presidents, Alvin Bragg is showing what that means. I mean, this is a highly political, in my view, legally absurd case in Manhattan, and it's playing out as the court considers the implications of this type of prosecution. And so for the court, I think it's only going to reinforce this idea that we don't necessarily want to go to either extreme, but perhaps there's a nuanced or middle road here where we can afford some protection to a president for actions taken related to their office.
All right, Andy McCarthy, let me get you in here. So what do you think the court will do here? Sometimes they like to move incrementally, right? Like, well, they'll send it back to the lower courts and we'll wait and see if it comes back up again. Do you think they're inclined to do that in this case? Because time is of the essence. The election is just a few months away.
Well, Dana, here's part of the problem, though. Why is time of the essence? There's no importance from a rule of law standpoint and from a law enforcement standpoint. There's no importance in this case being tried before Election Day. That's the agenda of the Democratic prosecutors who have brought these cases. The fact that there seems like there's a crisis and there's criticism of the court that they didn't get to this fast enough is not over a legal imperative. It's over a political imperative where you have Democratic prosecutors. The one in New York is an elected Democratic prosecutor who decided that they wanted to get Trump on trial and by their lights hopefully convicted in the run-up to the election. To my mind, if I'm the court, I'm actually put off by that. I don't feel like a pressure to accelerate my consideration of the case. I resent the fact that I've been thrown gratuitously into a political context. This is a complicated question. The problem with it is everybody knows that a president does have to have immunity for the acts that he takes within the authority of the presidency, within the ambit of his constitutional responsibility. We've gone almost a quarter of a millennium without having to spell that out because it's totally obvious. But it's one of those obvious things that's hard to write without inviting illegal activity by the president. So unfortunately, you have Trump and his opposition, which essentially, between the two of them, they destroy every norm that we've ever had before, where we didn't have to have a court pronounce something that's so obvious, and it becomes a fraught question if you have to try to write what the immunity is.
Kerry, the two trials, New York and at the Supreme Court today, obviously taken place more than 200 miles apart. They don't, in a legal sense, at least as far as I understand, really overlap with one another. But there's no question, right, that in the public sphere, they have the potential to greatly impact one another, right?
Well, this is why I thought what Donald Trump did this morning was a brilliant move for the court of public opinion. He decided to set the tone himself. He went to meet with the construction workers, the union workers. That's the narrative that he wants to set today. He doesn't want people to be distracted by these trials. and instead wants people to focus on the fact that he's running for president, and he has a tough time doing so right now because he's having to sit in court every day, but he met with those workers this morning. The other thing I would just mention, Jillian, I think it's interesting that Michael Dreeben is arguing for the Department of Justice. The reason I think that's interesting is because he was on the special counsel Bob Mueller probe, the unsuccessful one, and that was self-selecting, so he put himself on that team to go after Trump, and now he put himself on the Jack Smith team, and will be arguing the case for Jack Smith today, both self-selecting positions, and certainly interesting.
Shannon Bream, wanted to ask you about this. We are going to have a chance at 10 a.m. to hear the justices and the argument. You're going to be inside. So you know the justices well, you pay attention to a lot of this. What are you listening for today? Is there anyone in particular that you're expecting to weigh in heavily?
You know what? I'm really going to be keeping an eye on the Chief Justice. I mean, he tries to guide the court with a very narrow hand in many of these cases, as you said earlier, incrementally. So if they're going to find that there is some scope of immunity for these particular actions, where do they set the boundaries? I think listening to the questions about whether they're open to that issue of immunity and just how far it might go, if we see who's trying to probe what the outer boundaries or perimeters of that would be. You know, these arguments are set for an hour, but there's nothing else on the docket today. I would expect we're going to go well beyond that because this is a moment in history for these justices to decide. And again, we don't know what the vote was. It's a secret vote to take up the case. Who voted yes? Who voted no? Who even wants to hear this case today, Dana?
Jonathan, we've been told not to expect a decision from the justices today. It may be some time. What does that mean? When could we expect a decision on this to be put forward?
Well, obviously, it could go all the way into June. The court already has expedited this matter, even though some critics on the other side bizarrely say that they're dragging their feet. This is a rocket docket for the Supreme Court. It could go faster, I suppose, but this is pretty fast. I think they're going to have a tough time with drawing these lines. There is an off-ramp. You know, they could reach a strong majority in saying we need to send this back to develop the record. That could come pretty quickly. If they decide to do an off-ramp like that, it would essentially make it difficult for Jack Smith to try that case in D.C. before the election. But I think what you're going to see today from the justices is how tough this question really is. I mean, for example, you know, Jack Smith is going to argue, look, he was arguing for his own interests, not his office. Well, all right, what if he wasn't on the ballot? What if he was president and still thought there was election fraud? Would that mean he has immunity? Those are the types of questions, rather maddening questions, that they're going to present to counsel today.
Annie McCarthy, can I ask you a political question? Maybe not. I don't know. Let me just ask it anyway. If you're President Biden in the White House and you're watching this, and you're president of the United States, you're the commander-in-chief, how do you want this to go today?
Boy, that's a great question. Look, I think that quietly, or as quietly as they can, the White House is very supportive of the lawfare effort against Trump. So to my mind, I think if I'm Biden, what I want the court to do is substantially endorse what the D.C. Circuit did and get the case back to Judge Chutkan so that she can get on with it, because there's probably 2 or 3 months worth of pretrial work that has to be done, because this case, as Jonathan mentioned before, it's been frozen for a long time in the district court. To get this case to trial by August or September would require Judge Chutkan really to roll up her sleeves and get on with it, and be very difficult for Trump because he's already on trial in this other place.
Right.
I guess if I'm Biden, I'm rooting for the case to get back to Judge Chutkan.
All right. Good. Always good to throw the panel a curveball, indeed. All right. Thanks, panel.
All right.
Thanks, guys.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.